What is up, Parisi Nation? It is Coach Casey. We are back from the layers of my training studio. It means the first time we did this, it was Ask Me Anything style podcast. We were testing out a new camera. Pod producer Josh worked his magic. The audio levels were good. I just dragged my wife in here to do a two-person test. So it was the final straw here. It was how does one voice sound? Now how does two voices sound? How do we have to position the microphone and the audio? And this is another test. And if everything goes well, and pod producer Josh works his magic, shout out pod producer Josh, then this episode is going to go live and you're going to hear this. However, if the audio is trash, if I mess up the camera, you will never see this episode. It'll be devastating, but hopefully you're watching this. It means everything went well. Pod producer Josh worked his magic, and I now get the lovely privilege to talk to you about a very near and dear topic to my heart, navigating the first 5 years in the sports performance industry. So when I'm not hosting the Parisi podcast or training people, I work on another platform that the Parisi Speed School has called All Access. What this All Access site is a monthly education site where we get trainers, sports chiros, sports rehab PTs, athletic trainers from all walks of life, all different ages. We do have students as well. And these individuals often ask a lot of the same questions, which helps with content for not only All Access, but for this podcast. But one question we get a lot of is, man, the first few years in sports performance or as a personal trainer, performance coach, strength conditioning coach are a challenge. How can I become a long-standing professional in this career? And I'm not going to say what I've done is groundbreaking or what I've done is the right way by any means. But what I can say is I'm super proud to have been in this industry now for over 15 years. Try to do the math on it real quickly in my head. We'll say 16 years. We'll say we'll just turn 16 years, and it is my full-time job. This is what I do. I train people. I do other projects educationally based on the side related to sports performance, but I am training people every day. I'm training athletes. I'm training Gen Pop people. You will hear as to why in a minute. That is number one on this list of navigating the first 5 years in sports performance. But with this podcast and this episode, I wanted to bring to you 5 different strategies that I've used, that I've suggested, that I've seen others in the industry do and implement in order to maintain longevity in navigating the first few years. So for those that maybe need to go down a trip down memory lane, or if you're in the thick of it, so to speak, you just graduated college or you're making the transition into sports performance, it can be a cold, nasty world. As far as the job landscape goes, primarily because either, I know for me, when I started working at the Parisi Speed School, I just graduated college and it was awesome. I loved it. I was nothing that I wasn't ready for, but when you work with athletes that are in school, their after school time is limited to, call it 4 hours, right? 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock, or maybe it's 4 to 7, whatever it may be. But we're looking at 4 hours a day, 5 or 6 days a week, which comes out to somewhere between 20 and 24 hours a week, right? Of hourly pay, hourly work. A lot of jobs are part-time. A lot of jobs can have like a full-time hourly rate, but at part-time hours. So you're trying to navigate how to financially make it work. You're trying to navigate early things in your career like 401k. You're trying to navigate maybe it's student loan payments, maybe it's car payments, your finances. I'm not going to necessarily talk about the individual finances of career because that's very unique to every individual. But specifically, I want to talk about how you can bolster your paycheck, how you can make a career in sports performance when it's very challenging in the first 1 to, I'll say up to 5 years, but definitely in the first 3 years. I say you're really growing your brand, your business, the business you're a part of is growing. Now, if you're lucky enough to have scored kind of the unicorn, right, and you have a full-time job, it's 40 hours a week or 36 hours, you have full-time pay, benefits, whatever, like that's great. That's not the norm, and that this podcast episode is for those that are maybe trying to break in, considering a break into sports performance, and they want to know how they can make it last, how they can make the finances work so that they can retire as a sports performance coach. And that is something that I aspire. That's why we started All Access, right? There's one way to just get education and learn and bolster your skills. It's another to have access to people, Bill Parisi being one of the few that I actually know who's going to retire still. Bill will probably be coaching people up until the day he retires and then afterwards. Right? He's a sports performance coach through and through. I think it's really important to have role models and mentors like that in your life. And All Access gives us access to guys like Bill who are doing it day to day and doing the thing. So without further ado, I've rambled enough. We're going to talk about the 5 different strategies you can use to help navigate a tumultuous first 5 years in sports performance on a professional level. So number 1, this is what I did when I graduated. I worked in the Parisi Speed School from, say, 3 o'clock to 7 o'clock. That was just what our hours were. Outside of that, I trained everyone. I really only enjoyed, at the time, training kids. I wanted to train kids. I wanted to be a sports performance coach. I was holding on to this dream of potentially one day being a Division I collegiate strength and conditioning coach. And I knew getting boots on the ground experience with Parisi was going to be a huge help with that. And it definitely was. But outside of that, I trained everyone. I worked with outpatient PT. I worked with the clients that were kind of the hand-me-downs from other trainers that maybe they were troublesome for different reasons. They showed up late. They showed up late sometimes. They canceled often. They were difficult personalities. I would take that. I trained everyone. I trained 80-year-olds. I trained 8-year-olds with a pediatrician referral. I would train those out of college. I would train those that just wanted the free fitness consultation in their membership with the health club we were a part of. I literally worked with everyone. And the reason I worked with everyone was a couple different reasons, but twofold. The big one was when you work with kids, right? At Parisi Speed School, we largely train youth. We train kids. If you can teach a kid strength, movement, speed skills, those coaching skills carry over to anyone. If you can teach a 13-year-old who just hit a growth spurt to disassociate their hips from their knees and teach a hip hinge versus squat pattern, you can work with the individual who has a history of lower back pain that maybe has a lumpy hinge pattern. You have the coaching skills to do that. Now, you may need some help in navigating outpatient shoulder surgery, which is fine. And that's where your personal network is going to come into play, working with PTs and different doctors and networking and reaching out to what you should and shouldn't be doing with these people. But as far as coaching skills go, the actual person-to-person soft skills, I'm a firm believer that if you can work with youth individuals, you can train anyone because the programming isn't that much different. I was actually having this conversation with a client today because I have a lot of parents that will train with their kids. And a lot of times we can work off the same program. We're just working off of different lateralizations and regressions of base movements, right? If mom or dad is doing a push-up from the floor, it means the kid is doing a push-up from the TRX until they have the capabilities to do it from the floor. So we're really working on the skills with the youth market, the youth population, that can build up to or match those at the adult level where they have more physical capabilities. So a lot of times I'll work with coaches who will have new Parisi start and they're like, man, do we do adult training? Should we do this? And I tell them, yes, you absolutely should, because if you can train kids, you can train anyone and you can train them well. So if you're looking for ways to bolster your paycheck, add some consistency, work on getting a handful, right? Handful of adult clients. Also, adults never go in season. Your soccer players will leave you. Your basketball players will leave you. Your college kids will go back to school. But adults never leave you. If anything, they find times of the year where they can train more often than not. So having a diverse roster of clients is critical, especially in the first 5 years. But I think just as a base of any personal trainers roster. And also you'll find if you're working with kids and the kids have a great experience with you, the adults their parents may want to work with you because they want that same enjoyable experience. There's plenty of I'll say crappy fitness programs that people don't jive with. There's also just plenty of great fitness programs that people don't jive with for whatever reason. But if you're a good coach with good coaching skills, people will find you, people will want to train with you, and do yourself a huge service and work with them. While you're training everyone, that's number one. You're going to work on number two, which is niching down or niching down. I'm not sure niche or niche. I don't know how we say it. I say niche, right? But you start to specialize. So you start as a generalist. I think having that generalist mentality will serve you a long career in sports performance, health and fitness, personal training, whatever you want to categorize yourself as. But as you're training everyone, you start to specialize and you start to niche down. And whether that niche is you're the person who's really good at working with people with back pain, or you're really good at working with soccer players, or you're really good at working people who have knee issues, or ski, snowboard, mountain athletes, or swimmers, or maybe you're just really good at teaching beginners exercises, right? Working with beginners of all ages, whether it's you're new to the gym as a 40-year-old, you're new to the gym as a 14-year-old, find it. Find the population you like to work with. When I was the program director in Vermont, that was one thing we did with all of our coaches. We had one coach who was an athletic trainer. She did a lot of injury mitigation specific clinics and camps. She also worked with individuals who were referred to us from our medical team, whether it be our PTs or doctors that we worked with. She handled all of those individuals. That's what she was licensed to do, and that's who she liked to work with. We had a coach who liked to work with golfers, so he ran golf performance programming for all ages, adults, kids, sports teams, you name it. It was golf. He did it. We had another coach who liked to work with endurance-based athletes, so triathletes, runners, cyclists. He worked with endurance athletes, and that's what he did. And a lot of times you see the commonality. It's a niche specialty amongst all ages, so it allows them to train everyone, all ages, but they were able to extrapolate their skills in sports performance that we learned at the Parisi Speed School and niche down within sports performance. Because don't get me wrong, speed training in itself is a niche. It is a specialty. That's one of the advantages of being with and affiliating with the Parisi Speed School is you're going to inherently start to specialize within fitness, within sports performance. We are speed coaches, but you can peel back the onion even further. And you can now start to say, I work speed training with those for showcase and recruiting. That was actually where I made my living, was working with athletes that were going to recruiting showcases. So whether it be football and they had to run 40s, broad jumps, whether it was soccer and they had to run conditioning tests, if it was baseball and they had to run 60-yard sprints, basketball with vertical jumps, it was the Parisi evaluation system taken to a very specific level that these coaches were now testing at the time. This is now, think in the late 20-teens into early 2020s, and now it's more prevalent than ever. But helping athletes understand the tests, understand athletes how to teach them to do the tests well, and ask questions. How are they going to be tested at these different recruiting showcases, college visits, whatever it may be? So it's awesome because Parisi opened those doors to not only give us as a staff, as coaches, the different skills and education, but also the opportunities to get even more specialized within what is still a broad spectrum of speed training and sports performance. It's pretty crazy how specific you can get in sports performance. And I would say that while you're training everyone, you're finding that, and then you can start to work towards specializing in creating different programming, coaching options, training options, and becoming quote unquote the guy or the girl or the person in your market that does that. And I know it can happen because I come from a very small market in northern Vermont. So if we are able to do it, I have no doubt that you can do it, even the most saturated, busiest metro markets in the country. So number one, train everyone. And then that leads into number two, but start to niche down, right? So work with everyone, but start to find that special population that you can really start to be the person, because those will start to fill your paycheck steadily. but also increase the amount that goes into that paycheck. Now, number 3 is something that I think everyone knows, but needs to be reminded of. And that is to say yes to everything. If you have opportunities to run the warm-up for local 5Ks, you should go do it. If you have the opportunity to table at a supplement store and talk about sports performance, you should do it. If you get asked to go to a wellness fair, you should do it. If you get asked to speak to a gym class in a high school or grade school, you should do it. You should say yes to everything because it helps reinforce your speaking skills. It helps position you as an expert. It helps make connections with different local leaders. And on that note, I can't tell you how many times I can think of right now off the top of my head, at least half a dozen times, I've gone to a gym class and not substitute taught, but kind of just been the teacher for a class, right, with the real teacher, but been the teacher and done a sample workout or talk a little bit about performance training and speed training. And then that gym teacher leaves to go to administration. And now I have a very personal relationship with an activities director. I remember one year we were asked to go help the national presidential fitness assessment in the state of Vermont. Was always done at Norwich College in Northfield, Vermont. We were asked to go help referee and count and track the push-up station. So we did. And then the gentleman who invited us to run the push-up station became the activities director at a local grade school, which helped us get into the parent PTO, helped get into the different sport networks there, and also help introduce us to other athletic directors and activity directors in our county. So it's one of those where you say yes, you build a relationship, you give your time, you give value, you do it with a smile, and then eventually over time, those people leave, they go to different job growth, they go to different positions in different fields. And if you've nurtured those relationships and you've given value and they've been able to see you as a real person and not just a performance coach, they see your real side, that relationship can be very fruitful down the line. So you're stacking bricks, so to speak, in those first 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 years. Say yes to everything, build relationships with the people. It is incredibly important to do so because you never know who is going to become what 3, 4, 5 years down the road. I actually got a text message last week from a former student athlete of mine who is now an athletic director at a local college, informing me that the strength and conditioning job was going to be opening up and if I had any interest. I said, no, thank you. I'm very happy with what I'm doing. But it just shows you that even the athletes, if you are in this industry a long time, they grow to be different professional fields, and that can open doors because if they had a great experience with you, it's memorable. If it's memorable, it's meaningful. And that can open a lot of doors down the road for you. So say yes to everything. Do it with a smile. Even if you don't want to do it because you never know who you're going to meet. You never know who's watching, who's going to be there and be a part of it. So that's number 3. Number 3. So number 4. So say you, and this is kind of another kind of like flip to number 3. So say there's no opportunities in your area. You're like, oh, I don't even know how to break into anything. So ask. Number 4 is ask, because good things don't come to those who wait. Good things come to those who ask for them. I would much rather be told no thank you or maybe next year than to wait and hope that it's something just magically comes around. It's funny, I used to like, oh man, I want to go on a podcast. Like, I want to be on a podcast. Well, now I get to host a podcast, right? Like, oh, I want to do that opportunity. I wish I had this opportunity. Well, I'm going to create that opportunity. So when you ask, you're creating the opportunity for yourself. And that is something that's incredibly valuable for navigating the first 5 years of your career. So one thing that I did, and this was really useful because it not only paid some bills, but also helped get my name out there, is, I'll say like a broke 20-year-old, 20-something-year-old. Like I didn't have a lot of expendable income, but I needed to get CEUs. And, CEUs in our industry can be expensive, especially if you want good quality interactions. So what I would do is I would reach out to those who, like, say it's the NSCA state clinic in my area. I would reach out to the NSCA director and I would say, hey, my name is Casey Lee. I understand you have all your speakers picked for this year. I'm wondering if you needed to, if you would be open to it, if I could be an emergency speaker. If it's okay with you, I can show up dressed, ready to speak, have my presentation on a USB flash drive, or I can send it to you in advance so you have it. But I will basically be reserving the audience. Should something happen, you need to fill a spot, I will be there. Kind of like the emergency goalie in National Hockey League, right? They have like that one person in the stands who can come out should all the goalies get hurt. They have an emergency backup goalie. I think it's like an e-bug, emergency backup. Yeah, an e-bug. That's what you're trying to be. Hey, if something happens, you have a person whose flight gets canceled, delayed, they can't make it, they have to leave for whatever reason, they get sick, whatever. Something happens, you need a time slot filled. I will be there ready to present. All I'm asking for in exchange is just complimentary entrance into the event. So you show up, you introduce yourself to the person who is organizing the event, which now you're providing value to them. Pretty substantial value, by the way. They're going to comp you in, so you don't pay to go to the event. You're going to get the CEUs. The only thing it cost you was the time to make the presentation, and it's an event you were going to go to anyway. So you show up in your fancy, your polo or speaking attire, whatever you're going to wear, and you're just there. And if you need to present, well, guess what? You got a shot to create an opportunity to go do your thing. So yeah, you have to be ready to present, but it's an amazing way to not only network, but to help boost your resume. Because now you can say, hey, I was an emergency presenter for the NSCA, insert random clinic or event here. I'm wondering if you need that same type of services. I'm going to go to your event anyway. I didn't know if there's a way I could get comped access and just be an emergency presenter. Here's a copy of my presentation so you know that I'm legit, whatever, right? Like, you can now start to parlay that down the road into different presentations, and you're essentially getting free CEUs, free network access. And then eventually, I will say, I did this for 3 years with the NSCA Vermont Clinic before they said, hey, let's make you an actual presenter this year. And I got to present. So I got 3 years of paid free CEUs. And then I was able to actually be a presenter for the NSCA by the 4th year. So I stuck with it. It eventually started to help bolster my resume to land more paid speaking gigs, which are great. Helps pay the bills. You get free CEUs. It looks good on a resume. It's an amazing networking opportunity. I still talk to a lot of the same guys that either were the state directors or no longer the state directors, but they're just great role models in the industry, mentors in the industry, and just people I can pick up, because you develop real substantial relationships with these people when you start to help them. And that's, I think, what's really important in this industry is there can be a lot of selfishness, people wanting to have their clients or their coaching practice or their training systems. But when you can genuinely help people and you're just there for a good time and you're good vibes and you're ready to help, you can get a lot of goodwill and good rapport in the industry. And I can't recommend that strategy enough. So ask, always ask. Good things come to those who ask. And just say, like, hey, so-and-so, if you say you're trying to build your adult business, right? You're trying to complement your sports performance, build your adult. Ask a major employer if they have a wellness fair and if you can come do movement strains for different people. Ask if they find out what businesses have on-site gyms. That'll be a perk that's listed right on their website. Ask if you can come in and do exercise tutorials, and just be a local leader. We have a course in All Access, level 2, a business course, talks about being 5 Mile famous and different marketing strategies to win the 5 mile radius around your area. And I think that that's one of the most valuable things that we can do in the industry is try to win your 4 walls, right? Like your gym, try to win in my 4 walls, take care of the current members that you have. And then you're trying to win your building, your 4 walls of your building. And then you're trying to win within 4 miles, right? Or 5 miles, but try to win locally, then win your state before you try to win nationally. there's so many times we get the question, or I'll get the question in All Access, how do I increase my followers? How do I monetize my following on social media, etc.? And I'll say, well, how do you monetize the 4 miles around your gym right now? Because there's actually a lot of similarities between becoming 5 mile famous, 4 mile famous, winning your 4 walls, and building a social media following. And I can tell you, from my experience, I've made $0 from social media, but I pay my bills yearly by being 5 mile famous. And it's way more fun to go down the road to the grocery store and see different people that I know and talk to on a weekly basis than it is to get into internet arguments with people who want to slide into my DMs and tell me I'm an idiot. So there's a lot of different ways to go about it. But number 4 on the list is to ask, because the worst they can do is say no. And then number 5, this is something because I wanted a really practical, like, hey, I'm a sports performance coach. I don't have a lot of hours, not making a lot of money. I need to make money to pay my bills, my car payment, my rent payment, my school loan payment, my Netflix payment, my whatever payment. We all got them. How do I do that? And I would say you need to work or find a position in an adjacent area. This is something we talk about in All Access, finding adjacent services. So I think the easiest one, and one that I still do, is to teach group exercise. So if you're in a sports performance center that is within a larger health club, go teach a group exercise class, teach spinning, teach a strength training class, teach some type of like sports skill group exercise class. Teach it to a large group of people, because that is the easiest way to get in front of a large group of people. Position yourself as an expert. If you're working with athletes, you're probably teaching group exercise to adults. Those adults have kids, and if they trust you, they see how good you are as a coach, how personable you are. They're like, my kid needs to go see you, because people buy from who they trust. It's also going to put you in front of individuals so you can have the opportunity to go to number 1 on this list and train everyone. You can create classes within your niche, right? Like start to niche down. Like you could do a group class that's centered around mountain sports, pre-ski season, pre-snowboard season, pre-mountain bike season. I say that, I reference that because that's what goes on a lot in my area in Northern Vermont. But there's a lot of opportunities to do that. I think sometimes sports performance coaches will scoff at it. They think like it's beneath them, but really it's the best paid marketing you can do. You're going to get paid to teach the class, and you're going to get put in front of a lot of people to be positioned as an expert. That's largely like when it comes to sports performance and teaching at Parisi, it's basically a group exercise class that's centered around sports performance. That's what it is. And all of a sudden, within that group of 10, 12 kids is now a sports captain who's going to vouch for you when it comes to your coach, or a sports captain who's trying to set up preseason or off-season workouts for their team. So again, you never know who's there. Do it well. Do it with a smile. You hear that phrase a lot. But other things that I've seen coaches do, they lifeguard. That gets them in the pool. People doing a sport, right, for recreational hobbies, swimming. Maybe they're lifeguarding around like a different swim lessons for younger kids, or a swim team even. Maybe you work within a PT clinic or a chiropractic clinic as, again, service adjacent areas. Maybe you find a niche within, or a position within like a service shop, whether it be sports supplements, a running shoe store, trying to think sports equipment, right? Where you're going to see athletes in sports performance, and now you're a sports performance coach. One thing that I love to do is I love to go to the running shoe store, and I love to talk to the people who train for marathons, ultra marathons, 10Ks, and talk to them about footwear and how it helps them get fast. Because a lot of times runners don't do I don't want to say very good, but they don't do a lot of strength conditioning. And that's obviously my expertise. So we can kind of talk shop about different things. And it's adjacent areas, right? So it's the gear behind the activity. Now, all of a sudden, like when a parent asks you, what shoes should my kid wear? Or what shoes do you recommend? Like you can even cross-refer to the different places. If it's the health club, or if your gym is in a health club, you can work the front desk. That'll get you in front of different people. The other thing, too, that kind of goes into number 4, right? Ask, good things come to those who ask, is this idea of writing opportunities. So one thing I did in my 20s, there was a supplement company. It was called Campus Protein. I think it's still around. I would purchase different items from them, right? Protein powders, whatever. It was like really popular with college age kids and kids in their younger 20s, young adults. And I ended up scoring a gig with them, writing product sample or product summaries, product descriptions on their website. So they would send me a list of what products they had. I would write these different product descriptions that kind of fit the different tone of their company and their voice. So, and then from there, like different writing opportunities as a content expert with Men's Journal, Parade Magazine. Those are available online, locally. You can do different things, but find these different content-based websites, and there might be paid opportunities. I know I've seen those advertised on Indeed. I've seen those advertised on like Strength Coach Network. There's plenty of opportunities. You just need to ask and see if there's an opportunity. And just because you get a no doesn't mean that you're not going to be able to take that information and dial in your search a little bit better. Or if you ask and they're not doing it, they might be like, yeah, we're open to something like that. Can you send us a sample? So you do also need to be ready to, like we talked about with the speaking, kind of the e-bug emergency speaker situation. You need to be ready to do the thing, and you need to be able to do the thing well in case you're actually called on. But those are different opportunities that can present themselves that can help ease the burden of a coach building their book of business in the first 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 years. So this is, again, a little different kind of podcast, but I want to do some of these because the Parisi Network is full of professional coaches that have stories like this, how they've navigated the hard years starting their career. Because I think just like any career, any service-based career especially, the first few years are pretty challenging, and we need to be able to have the strategies that we can practically implement. And that's what I wanted to bring with this episode, was just practical strategies that you can implement today as you're listening to this, kind of spark interest as you listen to this in your headphones, in your car, watch it on YouTube, whatever you're doing, and help you become a lasting coach in this industry, because that is my goal. I say it every month in All Access. My job is not to educate. My job is to help you retire as a performance coach. I know the Parisi Network and the Parisi Education team shares that same thought. So before I go, if I can ask a huge favor of you, wherever you are listening or watching this podcast, can you click the like button? It helps with the algorithm. It helps let my boss know people listen to this podcast. Can you throw a comment? Ask a question. I do check the comments on YouTube. I check the comments on Spotify. I check the comments on what people are asking. What are some of the things that you need out of a career as a sports performance coach? Let us know so we can create the episodes to help you, because that is what we do at the Parisi Speed Schools. We're here to help you become a better coach in any way we can, right? Whether it be actual coaching or the practicalities of the business behind it. So thank you again for letting me ramble on another solo podcast. I hope I did the audio well, and pod producer Josh gets this up, and I will catch you with a guest very soon.